Laludaya. Welcome back, boys and girls. Sometimes, boys and girls, when we work in a group setting, we always have a leader, right? But there are times that we feel that the leader does not, performing well. You know why we feel that? Most of the time, if you really think to yourself, being honest, most of the time we tend to think like that when we don't get the gains that as we expected, like the personal gains, right? And we often feel that, so like, if I have that opportunity, I can do better than that person, right? And but not necessarily we have the right qualifications or right sets of skills to perform that those responsibilities. So boys and girls, so you have to always remember, when we are in a group setting, we have to think about everyone else. We have to especially acknowledge the skills of others and acknowledge the skills of own self, and pick and choose the responsibilities accordingly. So today's story is about a similar scenario. So this took place at the time when the Supreme Buddha was still alive. So, boys and girls, there was this boy named Malla Dabba Buddha. So he wanted to become a monk. So he took permission from his parents and went forth and ordained as a monk. So within a very short period of time, this Dabba Malla Buddha Thero became an arahant, became an enlightened being. And so he wanted to do this arahant monk. He was very interested in taking care of the monks, attending to the monks. So he went to the Supreme Buddha and asked, Bante, I would like to attend to the monks, and I would love to take over the responsibility of dan. So Supreme Buddha, knowing how capable this Arahant monk was, handed over the responsibility of sending off Sangha, the monks who were residing at the monastery, to different places for alms. So this Arahant monk, Dabbamalla Putta, was, continuing with his responsibility. He was doing a perfect job because one thing, he had no intention of personal gains, getting things for himself. So he was treating everyone equally. But boys and girls, there was another monk. His name was Lalu Dai. So this monk was a little bit foolish and like tried to show off that he knows better than this Arahant monk. So what he did was, so he, sometimes he was sent off to where they would receive, the monks would receive very delicious food, and there are times that he was sent to places, to different houses where he was not getting, like, delicious food. So he was very upset about it. In fact, he was mad about it. He was mad towards this Dabamalla Putta, the Arahant monk. And then he was, he started to accuse this Arahant monk, saying, what do you know about organizing these things? Like, you don't know who's giving good food. You can't do this job. You're not suitable for this job. Saying all those bad things. He was accusing the Laludai monk was accusing the Arahant Dabbamali Buddha. So Arahant monk, they are very compassionate. They have no personal gains. So what he did was, so he had enough of Laludai monk's, accusations. So what he did was, one day, this Arahant monk said to Laludai monk, you know what? So you can fulfill these responsibilities. I will hand over these responsibilities, sending monks to different places for alms. So you take the responsibilities. I would withdraw. So Laludai Bhikkhu took over the responsibility of, assigning monks to different places for alms, for, like for lunch and breakfast alms. And then he was continuing these boys and girls. Although he took over, he wanted to take over the responsibilities to himself. He had no clue about the seniority of the monks, who were the higher ordained monks, who were the, like newly ordained monks. So he was just, continuing with the slightest knowledge he had about the understanding of the monks. But the senior monks, well, they were okay because most of them were arahants. So they had no craving for delicious food. They just eat whatever they can. They were very content. But the newly ordained monks, they were not happy with how Laludai monk was uh, organizing these alms. And so they started, scolding Lalu Daimon, saying, "You don't know, what are you doing? You don't know anything about, sending off these monks for dana. You are not suitable for this position." Saying those things the same way that how Laludai used to, accuse the Arahant monk Tabbamallaputta. See, these newly ordained monks also started to accuse Laludai monk. And Laludai monk, he was not very quiet, just like the Arahant monk. Laludai also talked back. He also argued back with these newly ordained monks. And then there was a huge, like noise in the alms hall. And then the Supreme Buddha heard this. And, out of curiosity, Supreme Buddha asked Ananda Bhante, "Ananda, what is that noise that you're hearing from the arms hole? Who is screaming? Who is scolding at each other?" So Ananda Bhante explained to the Buddha that how Laludai Bhante had taken over the responsibilities of Arahant Abhimalaputta. Now he has created a big mess with all these arms, everything related to arms. And then the Buddha said, "Boys and girls, Ananda, not only in this life, he did the same foolish mistake in a previous life too." And boys and girls, there were monks surrounded by the Buddha at the time. They were very curious to know how Laludai made the same foolish mistake in a previous life. So, boys and girls, so our Bodhisattva was born in a city called Varanasi in the country called Kasi a long, long time ago. So, at the time, there was a king called Brahmadatta who was reigning the city Varanasi. So our Bodhisattva was working for the king Brahmadatta. He was, in fact, our Bodhisattva was an estimator. So you know who's an estimator is? Suppose his job was, his responsibility was, there are people from other countries, other cities would bring over goods, like it could be food, it could be animals, it could be anything to the city of Varanasi to trade, to sell things, and that was their living. So basically trading. So the Bodhisattva's responsibility was, boys and girls. So when these merchants, when these traders come, to sell their goods, our Bodhisattva is the one who would say, he would evaluate, he would assess the value of these goods and tell exactly how much to pay for those merchants. So the king would pay the money from his treasury. And our Bodhisattva was doing a perfect job because he was very reasonable. He would tell exactly how much these items were. But guess what? The king was not happy about it. The king thought because this estimator is very honest, very reasonable, and he was giving the right price to everybody. He would not bargain at all. So the king thought, if this is going to continue, very soon I'm going to lose all of the money in my treasury. So I should find a new estimator to do this job because this is not going to work for me. So boys and girls, this king, he was not a generous person. He was a little bit greedy, isn't he? So that's why he didn't want this Bodhisattva merchant to, continue with the job as an estimator. So this king, he was thinking and thinking about, like what to do, how, where can I find an estimator who could, work for my benefit. And so he was thinking, he was staying in his room, looking outside through his windows, and he saw someone's walking through his garden, the palace's garden. And this person, boys and girls, known to be a very, very greedy person. So everybody knew him as a greedy person. And then the king was very happy to see this guy, and because he thought, oh, this person is the ideal estimator to get the job done. So I should hire him immediately. And then so the king hired this greedy person, and then he let go of our bodhisattva, the fairly estimator. So soon after, boys and girls, there was this horse merchant who had come from another city, came to the palace to sell off his horses. So he brought 500 horses. And so he came to the palace and he said to the king, Dear king, I have brought 500 horses. I would like to know how much you will be able to pay for these 500 horses. And then the king called over to his newly appointed estimator and asked him, can you please check these horses and let me know the price, how much these horses are worth of? And then, boys and girls, so this newly appointed estimator, one thing, he's not a wise person, and the other thing is that he's not a reasonable person. He was very greedy. So he looked at all the horses, and guess what he said? He said, these horses, I can give you one pot of rice for all these horses. That's what all these 500 horses are worth of. And then soon as he heard this, the horse merchant, he was shocked to death. And he was thinking, oh my goodness, all these 500 horses just for a pot of rice? This can't be real. This is not fair. But what do? Right? Because the king is the king's word. You cannot say anything against the king's word. When he says, okay, it's worth only one pot of rice, that's it. You cannot argue back, right? Because people are afraid of the king. And then so this innocent horse merchant, very sadly, so he accepted the pot of rice and he took off. He was very, very sad. But the king was very happy because just for a pot of rice, he got 500 horses. And then so this horse merchant, boys and girls, so he was walking on the streets, and he met with our bodhisattva. You remember the previous estimate and the reasonable one? So he said to the bodhisattva what had happened at the palace, how he got just a pot of rice for 500 horses. And boys and girls, our bodhisattva, the wisest among all, advised this horse merchant to bring some gifts to this estimator and tell him that you estimated 500 horses for one pot of rice, and I would really like to know how much this the pot of rice would worth out. So can you please tell me tomorrow? I can bring that pot of rice to the palace. Would you be kind enough to estimate the value of this pot of rice? And boys and girls, because this foolish estimator had gained some gifts, like very valuable gifts, he agreed to estimate the value of this pot of rice. So the next day, so the horse merchant and this estimator, the foolish estimator, went to the palace. And guess what? There, the bodhisattva and so many other people were also presented. And then this horse merchant said to the king, Dear king, yesterday this estimator, he said 500 horses a worth of 1 pot of rice. And I would really like to know how much the value of this pot of rice. And then, so the king, after hearing this, the king, addressed the estimator and told him, yes, that's right. So please tell him how much, the this pot of rice worth of. And guess what, boys and girls? So this estimator, the foolish estimator, he looked and he thought for a couple of minutes and said, "Dear king, this pot of rice is worth of the whole kingdom of Varanasi." And then, soon as he heard this, the king started to sweat, boys and girls, because this foolish estimator compared the value of 1 pot of rice to the whole city of Varanasi, the kingdom of Varanasi. And then everybody there at the palace garden, they started to laugh. And then our Bodhisattva said, so all this time we thought, the value of a kingdom and value of a king cannot be, compared to anyone. It cannot be measured, right? But this estimator is saying it's worth just a pot of rice. And then, boys and girls, the king Brahmadatta realized his mistake, and he, shooed this foolish estimator away and appointed our vice bodhisattva back into the responsibility to act as an estimator. So, boys and girls, at the time, the foolish estimator was this Laludai monk. So he was repeating the same mistake in this life too. So remember, boys and girls, everything in our life has a value. So our parents, our teachers, everybody around us, everything around us. So we have to always know this. Otherwise, boys and girls, what has happened to the foolish estimator will definitely happen to us as well. I will see you soon, boys and girls. May you all be well and happy. May the Triple Gem bless you. Namo Buddhaya.